Hi everybody, welcome to the happy hour in association with STRYYK. Great to see you all here, thanks for joining us. Hope you've had a good day, happy International Women's Day. My name's Lynne and I'm here this evening with four amazing women. And we've all probably got quite a lot in common actually, but we've got one big thing in common that we're going to talk to you about this evening, and that's that we've all had some level of time alcohol free. So let me just change to my view there. I'm just going to turn the music off. Just a little bit of an intro. Fade it out. Okay, so just to introduce myself, first off, my name's Lynne, and I'm in Belfast, Northern Ireland, and I'm here today because I took a break from alcohol back in July 2018, and it was at a time when not a lot of people were talking about the whole alcohol-free world. It was sort of like you had two kinds of people in life. You had your alcoholics who drink all the time, have an awful problem, are getting into all sorts of strife, and we should pity them, but then you've got everybody else and all the rest of us are completely fine and we can just crack on and that's fine. I did that for a long time, but I just started to feel different about my relationship with alcohol, but I didn't identify with being an alcoholic, but I of course wasn't completely teetotal either. So I sort of looked around a bit and found a movement called 1 Year No Beer. I followed a 90-day challenge that they did, so I set myself this challenge of doing 90 days, and it was the longest I'd ever taken a break from booze before, and it was absolutely terrifying to start off with, but I did it and I got to the 90 days, and I felt really different and I started to feel really good. So I extended it to 6 months and then eventually extended it to a full year. I got to my year and felt so different and so great that I kind of felt compelled to share my story, because again, not a lot of people were talking about this, and I'd had such a different experience from what I had read. So I did a Facebook Live a couple of years ago, shared my story and got a lot of reaction to it, and over time more and more people I've seen are starting to experiment in this whole alcohol-free world. And I've started to build a little bit of a community of people that have taken various levels of breaks. Some have gone back to drinking again, some are still not drinking. And that's what this evening is about. I'm going to introduce you to four fabulous ladies. And like I say, some of them took some time off and are drinking again, some are still alcohol free. But I just think it's really good to get an overall perspective of lots of different people's experiences. And yeah, hoping that, will maybe inspire you as well. I don't know if any of you have taken a break from alcohol before. If you have and you want to share with us, please feel free to write in the chat. We're going to have a general discussion, but we'll take time for a Q&A at the end as well. So if you've got any questions, please feel free. I should say that we're recording this because we want to be able to share it with people who haven't been able to attend this evening. So if you want to rename yourselves as anonymous, feel absolutely free to do that, or you can just stay as you are. You've got your videos turned off and you're on mute as well. But like I say, feel free to put questions in and any comments, and we would love to hear from you. So enough from me. I'm going to hand over to the ladies with us this evening. I'm going to kind of go round. We've got four here, and I'm just going to ask each of them to introduce themselves a bit. So just looking at who I can see on the screen in front of me first. Nuala. Hi, Nuala. So Nuala, do you want to just tell us a little bit about yourself, maybe where you are, what you do for a living, and what your current status is when it comes to booze, please?
Yeah, I'm Nuala. I'm based in Dublin at the moment. I came back for the lockdown and sort of now here. I work full time. I run my own business doing comms, PR, social media, and everything else in between. I am sort of not drinking. I've had a couple of had a couple of nights out, a couple of meetups with some friends, but not really drinking at home anymore.
Okay, cool. And Nuala, what's the longest that you've done alcohol free, do you think?
Do you know what? I'm trying to remember that. So I started with you on the 15th of July and went to the 24th of August, and then went from the 22nd of September through to Christmas Eve. So I think Christmas Eve was, I think that was the longest, yeah. And then basically on and off, but nothing kind of crazy, yeah. Okay,
great. Thanks, Nuala. And cheers. Nuala's enjoying. I think you're having a STRYYK rum, aren't you? Yeah, you are indeed. Yes, nice. Okay, I'm going to go next to Sarah. Sarah Weeks, if you just want to tell us about yourself, where you are, what you do for a living, and what your current status is when it comes to all things booze.
I am in Southeast London. I'm down in East Dulwich, which is lovely, with my little dog Badger, who's asleep right now, so I won't bring you into camera. I am an event producer by trade. Obviously been a bit quiet the last year or so, but yeah, I work for a kind of global marketing agency, which actually, funnily enough, does quite a lot of work with booze brands, so that's an interesting one. My journey with booze is kind of, my pause is all really down to you, really. Thank you, Lynn. But yeah, it was the end of last summer and I just really fancied a break, and I think I did around 75 days leading up to Christmas. And yeah, right now I'm drinking a little bit here and there, but majority of the time trying not to.
Okay. All right, great. Thanks, Sarah. That's brilliant. And then the same question to Sally, please.
Hello. Yeah, so I'm Sally. I'm a mum to a 2-year-old. I run my own business. I've got an HR company supporting small businesses. So obviously those two things keep me very busy. I have been alcohol free for, I think I just added it up and I've forgotten already, but I think it's about 67 days. Yeah, which is huge because I was a big drinker, huge.
Yeah.
So 67 days is massive. It started off just by saying I was going to do a month. Then I said I was going to do 2 months. Then I said 66 days. I've obviously now hit that. And now I'm sort of aiming for 6 months because I want to see what the difference is back in the real world, because obviously we've been in lockdown for this, so I need to experience the real world without alcohol as well. So
okay.
Yeah,
Brilliant. Thanks, Sally. That's great. And I know how many days you are because we've figured out that I'm exactly 900 days ahead of you. So you're day 67, I'm day 967, which is insane. Anyway, and then finally, last but not least, the lovely Rachel, please. Same question.
Hello everyone, yeah, I'm Rachel and I live in southwest London. I'm a teacher, so I need all the booze. However, I am on day 497.
Wow.
Of no booze at all, which is, again, like Sally, I was a very good drinker. So I'm still shocked that that is my number and that keeps increasing every single day. Initially, I decided to stop the booze. Initially, I wanted to moderate my booze because I didn't have a lot of money and booze is expensive and going out in London is very expensive. And I thought, how can I, what could I do to kind of spend less money and moderate my drinking and get really strong? And the common denominator was, well, if you just quit drinking, Rach, then you'll achieve all of those things. So yeah, I read a book and then and I just stopped completely. It really helped that I got bronchitis at the very start of my sober journey, so I couldn't really drink anyway because I was so sick, and then it just made sense just to not drink, and I haven't looked back at all. So I'm super excited to be here to talk about it because I'm a super pumped sober person, which is not something I would have thought I would be saying about myself 2 years ago, 18 months ago. Yeah, so
wow. Woo. That's incredible. And I think I know that the book you're talking about is this one, isn't it? The Unexpected Joy of...
Yeah, 100%. I read one book. That was the only book I read. And there were so many other books that people suggested, but I just read that book and I read it numerous times because it was just gave me so many tips and things, which I'll go through later. But yeah, brilliant book. Best place I started.
Okay, so I think the next thing I was going to move on to there was why you decided to take a break from booze. And Rachel, I think you kind of covered some of that already, didn't you? Is there anything else you want to add before I move on to one of the others?
I think that a big thing for me was my fitness. I was going to the gym and I was really conscious of like my resting heart rate and things like that at the time. I'd been to the physio and he was like, you're not in very good shape at all. And I was like, oh, and that was a really good springboard for me as well, because as soon as I started kind of tracking my stats and things, the effect that alcohol was having on my body. I just didn't even realize it. I didn't even realize the calories, and my resting heart rate is now significantly lower. So that was a really, really big reason why I wanted to, because I wanted to get super strong. And you can't do that if you're boozing every single weekend. So.
Absolutely. Okay, brilliant. Thank you. God, I know that very well. So going back to maybe Sarah Weeks, what, if you could sum up why was there anything in particular that made you want to take a break from booze at the time that you did?
A couple of things. Really regular, too regular, awful hangovers. So the type you're in bed and you're being sick all day, and that was getting to a point where I was ruining plans I'd made on quite a regular basis just because I got a bit loose the night before. And I was over just having to cancel plans and just being, people were starting to kind of be like, oh God, you've got one of your bad hangovers again. It was just like kind of became part of me, which I don't think was a very nice thing to define me by. And also I suffer from really bad anxiety, and I wanted to see how it would affect that by pausing the booze. And it was massive. But I'd say the real catalyst, I think, for me was COVID and not being around loads of people and not having that social life, because my willpower is crap. I think it's been massive help. So it's kind of like all of those reasons, but wrapped in the fact that I had the opportunity to like try this out with no pressure.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting because I think lockdown has put two different perspectives on it, because so many people, I think high risk levels of drinking last year doubled nearly in lockdown. So a lot of people were drinking more, but then a lot of other people would say, a lot of you guys that I've spoken to are like, this is the perfect time to do it because there's not the temptation of going to the pub. So it's interesting because I think that, that people have had a very, very different experience of lockdown. But I know for me, were I still drinking in the middle of lockdown, I just would have been a different person, and I would have been so much more anxious, and actually having that headspace to focus on the more important things it's been incredible.
Exactly, especially during such an anxiety-ridden time that we're all in. And don't get me wrong, the beginning of lockdown, I was there, I was making cocktails, I was drinking margaritas on a Wednesday, like I was in, and I was just like, well, this isn't really helping the situation. So it was just great opportunity to get involved in. What was the first one? Alcohol free for 40 days, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's, I was saying at the beginning, I did mentor two groups through 40-day challenge, one in July and one in October, and some of the girls on this call have been a part of that. So thanks for that, Sarah. So Nuala, would you any other reason why in particular you decided to take a break from booze?
I've been looking into this for years, and like quite a long time actually. I read an amazing book by a beautiful woman called STRYYK. I'll have to say Izati. I'm terrible with her second name, called the kindness method. So for me, it was less about it was more about sort of the anxiety and the kind of the fear I used to get, when I used to drink, but, I loved having drinks with friends and stuff, but it was the after, a bit like what Sarah was saying, and it's the down and the dumps. And I was in a pretty awful job for a couple of years, and my flat wasn't brilliant. And it wasn't enjoyable anymore. I used to run nightclubs, I ran festivals, I love a drink, you know what I mean? I'm good crack. And it just became not fun. And at the same as Sarah, when lockdown started, it was like, woohoo, I'm on my holidays. I'd come back to Ireland, the sun was shining and it was fun. And then on the 1st of July it started raining, and it didn't stop raining in Ireland for a whole month. And then Lynne hooked me up and she said, what do you think about this? And I was like, yeah, absolutely, because that is going to be the number one way I can do this. And it was a really good thing to do.
Okay, amazing. Thanks, Nuala. And then Sally, I think they were the person who haven't asked this question yet. You may have covered it a bit earlier, but like the reasons why you decided to take a break?
Yeah, I think I spoke to you about it a year or two ago. I've thought about it a couple of times, and that has come from just, I suppose, the hangovers, the impact that it has on me being able to run my company if I'm not fully compos mentis. And the amount of times I went out and got to the point of drinking where I'd drunk too much and I was having blackouts and not remembering the end of the night. And it was just scary to know that you put yourself in that position. But what really made me do it this time was, again, the pandemic and the lockdown. The first lockdown, I drank a lot. And we went into this one and I thought this is going to be more mentally challenging because it's dark, it's cold. We've already done a lot of, you know, lockdowns, and I don't think I've got the mental strength to get through it if I'm drinking and having to deal with hangovers and the impact on your kind of mental state from drinking. So the lockdown's what spurred me on to do it this time around.
Okay, all right, great. Thanks for that, Sally. And actually, Sally, maybe we'll stay with you on this one. So, and this is maybe going to be good for anybody who's thinking about taking a bit of time out. Like, I would say, how are you approaching it? Because you're in the middle of you're on like day 67. So how are you doing it? You know, and you said that this is not something that you'd really done before. Like, what's different this time? How are you approaching it?
I think like being in the WhatsApp group with you and the others really helps to surround yourself by people who understand and can answer your questions and that you can share your thoughts with. A bit of journaling like you'd suggested, reading books. I've been reading Jason Bale. I like the look of the one that Rachel was talking about. I'll probably get that as well, because I think just anything that keeps reminding you of why you're doing it. As you read parts of them and you just think it makes so much sense not to drink. I can't imagine why I would.
Yeah.
But I think you have to, like Rachel said, keep reading things like that and listening to podcasts and other people that have done it. That's really helped. And also just setting short goals. Like I said, I went from a month to 2 months to 66 days. I'm trying not to say I'm never going to drink again, because then I start overthinking it all. So I'm just trying to take it in stages and just view it as an experiment and go, how does it feel to live like this? I'll try it out.
Yeah, that was exactly the same for me. Whenever I started and my first goal was 90 days, even that was terrifying because I'd never done any longer than a dry January before. But if I had said on the 15th of July 2018, if you'd said to me, Lynne, you're not going to be drinking again 967 days later, I would have been, what? I probably would have reached for a drink straight away. I couldn't cope with that. But it's just setting the mini goals. It doesn't have to be forever. So that's great. And the other thing that you said was interesting about podcasts and books. That was such a big thing for me as well. And I think I said to you before, I was quite scared to start reading anything because I didn't want to. At that point, I was like, I don't want to read something that's going to scaremonger me not into never wanting to drink again because, oh my God, I love my Malbec and my beer, whatever. But again, I was like, man up, you're taking this seriously. You're entering into this with a really positive attitude. Read about it. And when you start to do that, it just is, as if, you know, I think you'll all appreciate it. It's so interesting. And there's so much to learn about that. And that, as you said, really reaffirms why you're doing it in the first place.
Yeah, it becomes about a choice to have a better life as opposed to stopping yourself from having something.
Yeah,
it becomes a positive thing, not a negative thing that you're putting yourself through.
Totally. That's it. Mindset completely. I did dry January with a really negative attitude. Oh my God, I'm not going to be able to drink for a month. I'm not going to go out. I'm not going to see anybody or do anything. Got to the 1st of February, congratulated myself for the drink. Totally different. You know, it's the wrong attitude. You go into it feeling positive, you're going to get so much more out of it. Okay. Thanks, Sally. Nuala, same one for you. How did you approach your time off?
Do you know what? I just thought, yeah, I'm going to do this. And it was raining and I just thought to myself, this is going to be a challenge. Like, do you know what? I genuinely can't remember, but I do know that I lost so much weight in about 2 weeks. I was like, brilliant. So, and my skin just went from being kind of not brilliant to just like glowing. And then I had a load of work to do. I had literally just got stuck in. I think I won a couple of contracts and I just got stuck into stuff. And then I remember I had to fly back to London on the 20th of August, or can't remember whatever date it was. And I, you know, like people were just going, oh my God, you look amazing. And I was like, yeah, I do. So, you know, I just remember thinking, yeah, I'm going to ride with that. And it wasn't until 2 nights before I left London that myself and the girls had the most amazing, lovely night. And it made me realize that, yeah, I can have a great time with friends, get smashed in a couple of gorgeous bottles of vino, like Pinot Grigio, have the fun with the girls, go to bed and like wake up and not be beating myself up about it. And, you know, and since then it's been, you know, and then, you know, we started again in October and I was like, yeah, this is cool. Really had a lovely time at Christmas Day. Started off with gorgeous McGuigan's Prosecco, alcohol-free Prosecco, which was great. And, you know, and then it was, you know, the odd time I've had a, you know, bottle of wine. I met up with some friends last weekend, you know, but it's that I don't want to kick myself, you know, beat myself up about it again.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Thanks, Nuala. So Sarah Weeks, how did you approach your challenge?
Well, I think you guys, the WhatsApp group was super helpful because I was kind of coming in a bit blind, and your advice about doing video diaries. So I did those, and I've been looking back on them this afternoon, and it is really weird because you were sending me yours.
Yeah.
And I've looked back on like the first couple of ones I've done, and I'm talking about how I'm not in a good place and I'm low, and I'm looking forward to seeing how the experiment's going to progress. And then you cut to like day, I can't remember what it was like day 50 or something, and I'm literally like, hey, I'm like, today I'm feeling really happy. I'm leaving really cheesy videos like, I just wanted to do a video because I'm feeling so happy.
Yeah.
Whoa, it's a big improvement, and it's like that can't be ignored. I think it was the word experiment. I think is a good one that Sally used, because it is, you're putting yourself into an experiment that you're completely in control of, and there can't be a bad outcome. It's only going to be a good outcome. So yeah, that was my approach really. It was just like, I just want to see how far I can go and what the benefits are, and have proof of the benefits as well on camera, and I've got those as well.
Okay. Brilliant. Yeah, and what I should say is the guys have referred to a couple of times. We have some of us have a little WhatsApp group that our people are kind of like-minded and are taking some time off of booze, and we kind of share tips and advice and various things. So I think maybe finding people that are going through the same thing as you as well can be really great. And as well as like me, you can always come to me. 1 Year No Beer, or a really great community as well. There's a lot more out there it's just not all about AA. There's lots of little tribes that you can find online and books you can read. And the thing that Sarah talks about in the video diary, whenever I did mine, a lot of my problem was that my confidence had disappeared over the years, like gradually, and I didn't even realize it. And I hated being in front of camera, and I was always the one taking the photo. And then part of what I challenged myself to do was to keep a video diary of my experience, which terrified me. I did the first one on day 2. I was hunched over, wearing sunglasses. I think some of the ladies here have seen it. A different person was going, "Am I an alcoholic? Have I got a problem?" And I started crying a bit and going, "No one's ever going to see this video. I'm never going to do another one." I ended up doing them for a full year, and I've ended up sharing some of them with people. So turning on a camera and talking to yourself completely privately, because that's all mine was ever meant to be, is the cheapest therapy you can ever have, and I highly recommend it. And what Sarah said, so true. When you look back and you can see that you look different and you're talking differently, and your language and everything is just completely different level. So I really cherish having those to look back on, and I think maybe Sarah's starting to see that as well. So if anyone's thinking of doing a bit of time out, couldn't recommend keeping your own little personal video diary more. Rachel, I think we haven't come to you in this one. Well, I know you talked about this before, about reading the unexpected joy of being sober, but were there any other ways that you approached it?
Yeah, so I think a big thing for me was there was a lot going on in my life at the time, and kind of 6 months before that, my life in front of my eyes just felt like I'd lost control completely of the life that I had previously had. So stopping drinking was one way that I could actually be in control of my life. And Sarah, you mentioned about this control. You have control over how much you drink you have. And I almost felt like that was the start of having control of my life again, not because I was an alcoholic, but because of just all of the things that were happening around me. I could make the choice of not to drink. And so that was another thing that kind of kept me going. Something else that I did early on was every time I felt like, so very early on, so the 9th of November, I was going out to the theatre and for dinner with my friends for my friend's birthday. So it was day 9. And on the train, I was thinking, oh, maybe I'll just have a wine at the theatre. And it's only day 9. And I thought, no. And I wrote, and I've still got it in my phone, I wrote down a list of all of the events that I had been to that I can't remember because I was so drunk. And so, weddings I've been to and I got so drunk and I don't remember it, birthdays, etc. All of these things that I wasn't present for. My Rose Shiny, her name is, you know, my drunken alter ego that she was present for, but Rachel wasn't. And that made me really upset on the train on the way there, but it also kind of just reminded me of the reasons why I was doing this. So constantly thinking about, this is why you're doing this, because you want to remember Poppy's birthday, you want to remember the theatre, the show that you're going to see, etc., etc. So doing that along the journey was really good. And like others have said, it's, you know, initially it was, I'll get to 100 days. I'll get to this day, I'll get to this day, and just constantly changing the goalposts and not feeling like this will be, you know, I will never drink ever again. Taking that out of it really, really helped, because I, like you, Lynn, I think that would have just frightened me. I even say it now, even though inside I'm like, I don't think I'll ever drink again, but I can't say that out loud because it just freaks me out a little bit. But yeah, so lots of little things I did have done along the way. A key thing for me was, you know, I only stopped drinking in that November the 1st, 2019. And the key thing I did was I just didn't go to things. So I didn't go anywhere for Christmas. I stayed on my own for Christmas because I was so afraid that I would go somewhere and feel like I had to drink. And I didn't want to. And I was like, I'm just going to spend Christmas alone because I don't want anyone to try to convince me to drink. And it was to removing myself from certain social situations because I knew it would be the best thing for me. You know, I sound like I was a terrible alcoholic, and I just wasn't. I just knew that it was the right thing for me to do, was to stop drinking alcohol. So yeah, just another key thing that I did to keep myself going.
Yeah, exactly. The thing is, as we know, like, again, you don't have to be an alcoholic, and like the weekly recommended units of alcohol within the UK, I believe, is 16 units per week, and that really doesn't go very far. So we've got this whole grey area, as we call it, of drinkers who are all us everyday people who are very, very often exceeding that 16 units easily. I mean, I challenge everybody to download one of these Count Your Units app and really see how much you're drinking during the week. Of a week. But again, yeah, you don't need to be to that extreme level to really feel the effects of it and to want to do something to take back a bit of control, because it's an addictive drug, you know, really addictive, and it can get hold of anybody, and there's absolutely no shame in that. But it's just so amazing to recognize that and go, no, I'm gonna take control back over this. So that's amazing. Okay, so kind of quick fire one slightly. I'm really interested to hear what everybody's the worst and the best thing about being alcohol free. So I tell you what, we'll do everybody's worst first, and then we'll get the negative out of the way, and then we'll ask you what your positives are. So Nuala, you've gone off mute there. You're dying to get in. Do you want to tell us what the worst thing about being alcohol free is?
Like quick fire. Right. Okay, cool. Yeah, the worst is just, you know, not, you know, thinking, oh, I'm not going to have a gorgeous glass of lovely red wine with a gorgeous meal again, you know. So, you know, that'd be the worst for me.
Okay. Sarah Weeks?
You're on mute. Negative is feeling guilty or boring, and I'm battling with that at the moment. Like having a bubble with a good friend of mine who loves to drink, and it will get to the point of every night and every Saturday night, and he'll be like cracking onto the second bottle, and I'm like, I'm going home. But so I have to again pull myself out of those situations because I feel, and that's what makes me feel guilty.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. That's a good one. Sally, what about you? Your negative?
It's the internal monologue for me of thinking through my decision and what it means for me and what I'm going to do about it down the line and what will it mean longer term. Like, it's the constant debate and thinking, because I haven't committed or haven't worked anything out. It's the constant thought of it all, which is no bad thing, because you don't achieve anything in life if you don't try and think it through and come up with ideas and open yourself up to stuff. So in itself, that's a good thing, but it can be a bit stressful when you keep thinking about it.
Yeah, fair enough. And Rachel, what about you?
People's negative opinions of you as somebody who doesn't drink. So take, for example, I'm quite single, and so when I mention to a guy that I don't drink alcohol, I have, numerous guys have cancelled dates with me because I'm sober. Yeah, I know, shocked faces. But I think it's the same with certain friends I've got who have kind of been like, oh, are you boring now? And fortunately, now at this stage, 497 days later, I'm like, well, no, you're boring because you think that I might even be a small bit boring because I don't drink alcohol, or actually the guy's probably done me a favor because if he's that low to not want to go on a date with me, then he's probably not going to be the love of my life. So it is a negative. But it's somebody else's negative, not my negative.
Yeah, and that's quite good because I spotted that we had a question that came through. How do you explain it to friends? If I stopped drinking, my mates would all just ask me if I'm pregnant. And yeah, completely relate to that. But Rachel, I don't know if you like, you kind of lead on from what you've just been saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I think if they're your good friend, they'll understand where you're coming from. If they're not a very good friend, then they need to work that out themselves. My good friends have stuck by me and they congratulate me and they will always champion me for making this decision. And if we ever I've been on nights out and I'm like, pre-COVID and having a good dance, and actually I can last much longer and I'm a much better person. And that's how I go into those conversations with people. It's you thought I was really fun before, but I wasn't. I was an absolute nightmare and I was the worst. And remember when I called you the C word and things like that? And now I can spin it and say, I will last longer than everyone else. And I will look after your bag. You drink more, I do encourage people to drink. That's terrible. But spin it. And your good friends will stick by you because they will understand where you're coming from. That's my top tips.
Yeah, definitely. That's amazing. That's great. Thanks so much for that. And then I'm going to go back down the line again. So we're going to do the best thing about being alcohol free. So Nuala, we're coming back to you in Dublin on that one.
Dublin, live from Dublin. The sleep, oh my God, your head hits the pillow, waking up early, weight loss, skin looking really good, and just the confidence just going, where, and actually just being able to concentrate and going, oh, I can do that, I can do this, I can do that. I've been able, and as someone who's running about 55 projects at the same time constantly, it's just incredible. And you have so much, your concentration is fantastic.
Yeah, agreed. Absolutely.
And on the kind of like, what do your friends say? 94% of all my friends have gone, yeah, man, I need to stop drinking too, actually. So everyone's been like, do you know what? I think I should do that. I haven't had really any negatives, no negatives.
Yeah, that's brilliant. And that's really great because I get that a lot of the time as well. And the thing is, it's like people like us who are spreading a positive message and, and showing that you can take a bit of a break and go back to it. You don't have to be an alcoholic. It gets people talking about it in a different way. And that's what this is all about as well. There's no shame at all. It's amazing to take control back and just free your mind for a little bit, as En Vogue once said. So Sarah Weeks, your best thing about your alcohol-free time?
Yeah, I was like, no hangovers, just obviously not going to miss those. And also just feeling, I kept describing it towards the end of the 75 days or whatever it was. People were saying, how are you feeling? Like, people ask you that question all the time, as if you're doing something that they can't experience themselves. It's really weird. But I was like, I kept on using the phrase superhuman. I felt like sharp. I felt like, just like, as Nuala, you were saying, just concentrating, amazing sleep, feeling fit. It was just, it's really good. I'm not sitting here now because I've been having a few wines on the weekends in the last few weeks, and I'm literally like, why am I doing that? It makes you question, why, if you felt that good, what is it that brings you back to having a glass of wine again? It's weird. I haven't figured that out yet. I think it's the social pressure. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah, well, I think we'll probably come back to that in a minute for the next question. But Sally, the best thing about being alcohol free?
What the others were saying really is the clarity of mind, the creativity, and what you're capable of doing in a way, especially running a business. What I've been able to do in this last few months in comparison to how I used to be, I didn't even realize that I wasn't working on 100% before. And now that I'm doing it alcohol free, it blows my mind, the amount of ideas I come up with, the amount of things that I can actually put into place and get moving on, rather than just having random ideas out in the ether, never getting done. And it makes me think, my God, what could I have done with my life if I'd stopped drinking sooner? It blows your mind what you could have done.
Yeah. I know, I hear you. I often think about that as well, but again, I think there's no point having the in a way, there's nothing we can do about that now. And
No, and I did have a really good time, so I'm not going to beat
exactly.
myself up about it.
Yeah, and the thing is, you're doing it now, and as I've said, I think I've chatted with all of you about before, there are so few people that do this for themselves and actually take a step back and really feel what it feels like to experience a month, a couple of months, a year without alcohol, and it makes you feel so different that's why you just feel compelled to tell people, because you're like, you don't understand how amazing this can be, and to actually then experience that is fantastic. Okay, brilliant, thanks Sally. And then Rachel, you're the last one. What's your favorite thing about being alcohol free?
I'm so much more healthy. So I mentioned before about my resting heart rate. I looked before we started this. October 2019, my resting heart rate was about 75 beats per minute, which is really, I mean, we're all different, right? But it's high. And now it's about 56. So yeah, like the health benefits have definitely just everything else that everyone said, the productivity, et cetera, but for me, my health is just so important to me now, and I just I just can't wait to do more good things for my body. Like, what else can I give up?
Yeah, and I've seen you're like running and doing all sorts of things now, aren't you? Running 10K.
Oh my god, I've stopped drinking a lot. I've really reduced my caffeine. That's probably had an impact too, but yeah, I think it's quitting alcohol, just the snowball effect of my life now. Yeah, I started running in October just gone. I like run 10K every Sunday. I'm currently doing running every single day in March, like minimum 3K. I'm just like a million times better than the person that I was before. I was great before, but now I'm like even better. Yeah, like superhuman. I feel that. Look at me. I'm like, I don't need booze. I'm all with this, alcohol-free gin.
Yeah, I know. I feel exactly the same. You do kind of, in a cheesy way, you do sort of feel like a superhero, don't you? And like, I kind of, a lot of time I'm like, well, I'm not very good at many things, but I'm great at this. And and there's so many people that seem to struggle with it. But again, the more time you give yourself, the more you can open your mind to how incredible you can feel. Okay, that's brilliant. Okay, it's 20 to 8. Want to try? Well, we're going to go on for another 20 minutes or so. I'm going to try and get a couple of questions in as well, but. Just this one is probably for Nuala and Sarah Weeks, actually. So you're both people that have taken a bit of time off and you've gone back to drinking again. So I'm going to come back to Sarah first, because you had started to talk about your relationship with alcohol and how it is at the moment. So how do you, because this is what I'm always fascinated by, because I haven't started drinking again, so I don't know what it's like to go back. I always said if I did, I'd want to learn how to moderate, because moderation was a big deal for me. So how's your relationship with alcohol changed? Are you drinking any less? Are you able to moderate more? Do you feel different?
Definitely drinking less. I would say I'm drinking more consciously. So I'm not just before. I think I'd easily sit there and just drink whack 3-4 glasses of wine and then just be like, oh, now I suddenly feel a bit pissed. And it's like, well, yeah, of course you do. Whereas now if I am drinking, I'm thinking about it much more consciously. But what I think is the crux of it is unlearning the normalization that booze has been presented to me all through my life. So from everywhere, I know we've talked about it before, but like how it's in the media, how it's in conversations. I was listening to the Radio 1 last Friday night, and Annie Max literally like at 5 p.m. like encouraging people to get their drinks on the go and stuff like that. And I'm like, yeah, that unlearning that alcohol is kind of completely, it's something that we as a culture do all the time, and it's totally normal to be getting pissed all the time. is I think, yeah, the challenge for me. I'm not saying that, I don't know, does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Of course it does.
That learning of the normalization of it, yeah. And I think being around a family who love drinking as well, and even tonight, they said to my dad, oh, I had a couple of glasses of wine on the weekend. He said, good girl. And I'm like, I can't see where you're coming from. Yeah, he's probably like been worried about me or whatever, or sees it as the other way. He's like, oh, she's not drinking, something's wrong. But yeah. You know what I mean? Like, it is just that flipping that and twisting that in your head, that you're like, you can be in a social situation, you don't have to have a drink to be fun or be that other person. So yeah, it's a challenge.
Yeah, but that's really good, because if you have been able to sort of cut back, then that, you know, even if you're not, if you're drinking again, if you're drinking a lot less than you did before, that's so good for your health and your mental health anyway.
Yeah.
And the fact that you took those 75 days, like the lot, from what I've seen and experienced, the longer of a break you take, the more likely you are to be mindful about your drinking when you go back to it. And there's that whole thing about it takes 66 days. There was research that was done that shown it takes 66 days for a new behaviour to start to become more habitual. And Sally's just gone past that point, and you know, we've all been past that point. So you really do take a lot away from that. You retrain your brain, and you know, and as you say, you can't unlearn that. You know, whenever you see what life's like on the other side of the curtain, where you can feel really great, that stays with you. And I think it's probably just something you'll maybe just go back and forth on. But the fact that you have been through this experience and it has had an impact and you are drinking less is incredible.
Yeah. No, it's good.
And Nuala, same thing to you, because you have had some time out and you drink again occasionally. So how's that?
And I think it's, you know, like I got some wine the other night, and you know, I had a glass with my pizza, and it was like a treat. You know, like it was a real treat, and I really savored it, and I really like, you know, it was like, this is gorgeous. And it was a Friday night, you know, because I'm back slammed with work again, so I always feel like I'm in a bit of a, you know, in a normal place, like, you know, because I would never ever drink during the week in my flat. I would never have wine, you know, like when I was in London, I'd never have wine in the house, but that crept in when I wasn't feeling brilliant, you know, and the job wasn't great, and there was all, you know, Dad got sick and stuff. So now I just feel like, oh, I'm back to that Nuala, you know, who, you know, would go to the gym or go for a walk into her Pilates, So for me, you know, I find myself always at the alcohol-free section anyway, you know, and I'm a complete 100% on McGuigan alcohol-free rosé. It is the bomb. It's so nice. I had some yesterday, sitting in the balcony with the sunshine, and you know, and it's great, you know, it's lovely. And you know, I have the Starkey now, but it's, I like, my head is blown how mindful I am. Like, it's just like I just walk in and go no, or I go, okay, I'll have that one, and then that's it. But yeah.
Okay, brilliant. Great. Thanks for that. This is sort of answering a question. Somebody had asked us, what is your go-to 0% beer or non-alcoholic cocktail? So maybe we'll build this into the next question. And hopefully this will be useful to some people out there who might be thinking about taking a break from booze. I'm just going to ask the ladies if you've got your top 3 tips to anybody who might be thinking about taking a break. So we'll go back down the line. I'll ask Rachel that one first, please. And if it so happens to include your favourite alcohol-free drink, feel free to share it with us.
Oh my goodness, my top tips. Okay, so number 1, you've got to question, and this isn't, I suppose, the top tip, but I'm going with it. I think you've got to question and reflect, why do you want to do this? Like, what is the purpose of this? I think starting out by doing that is going to identify a lot for yourself, and for you to then put in place these strategies in order to help you. Because if you don't know why you want to give up alcohol, then the chances are that you'll probably go back to it at some point, and in a negative way. I think you've got to really reflect on your choices first of all. So start with that. Start by reflecting on it. Definitely do the lists of you know, when you've really messed up, when you've been drunk, like falling asleep numerous times on the tube and ending up in West Ruislip or ending up at Gant Hill, like, you know, whatever, like, that's not fun. So writing lists down when you've messed up, being a complete booze hound. Sober buddies. You've mentioned your WhatsApp group. When I started this, there wasn't like, I wasn't in a WhatsApp group or anything, but I just made connections with my friends who were drinking, and, you know, and went to those people and just said, you know, I'm having a bad time. I need to, you know, bring me back round. Like, why am I doing this? Remind me of why I'm doing this. And I found that super, super helpful. Yeah. So reflect, question yourself, write down your lists of all your mistakes that you've made when you were drunk, and find some good pals to support you.
Great. And just while we're here, just answer this person's question. What's your favourite alcohol-free drink?
I like the Sainsbury's £2.75 bubbles, because I miss champagne so much. I mean, it tastes nothing like champagne, but it's the closest I'm going to get. And if there was anything going to draw me back to drinking alcohol, it would be a good champagne. But instead, I'll have £2.75 sparkling from Sainsbury's.
Okay, amazing. Thanks so much. I can see, we'll come back to her later. I can see Nuala is actually going, Nuala looks like she's getting a variety of empty bottles to share with us. So I'm looking forward to seeing what those are. Sally, top 3 tips. And if you want to tell us what your favorite alcohol-free drink is.
Sure. So I think, like Rachel said, being in a group of people who you can talk to while you're going through it, and so that you can ask questions of and get support. I think have some belief in yourself of what you're capable of without alcohol, because how sad is it that we go through life thinking that we can't experience weddings or birthdays or difficult times without turning to a drink. I hear so many people say, oh, I'm off the booze, and then they go, oh, I've had a really bad day today, so I needed a drink. It's you that gets you through the bad day, not the alcohol. And I think it's a shame if we can't realize our own potential. So just give yourself that opportunity, which I suppose leads into the third point of just try it. If you're thinking about it, set those small goals and just try it, because wouldn't it be a shame to go through life never knowing what you were capable of? So just give it a go and see how you feel. And if it's not for you, then you can start drinking again. No problem.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah, thanks, Sally. That's fabulous.
My drink, I'm enjoying my STRYYK gin, actually. I think that could be a good summer drink. And because I haven't tried many alcohol-free drinks yet. I just have a lot of water and tea. I'm not very exciting. But the other one that I had that I really liked recently was the M&S Sparkling Rosé. That felt like a really nice treat. So yeah. Those are my 2 at the minute.
Thank you. Yeah, so the STRYYK do I've actually, this bottle's finished. I'm wasted. I'm not. So they do a not gin and not vodka and not rum. And I've tried a lot of the gins, alcohol-free gins, and theirs is the best. And I'm not just saying that because they're sponsoring our event. But no, their not gin and tonic is really, really good. Okay, so Sarah Weeks, your top 3 tips and your favorite alcohol-free drink.
I found that app really useful that we use, that tracks basically every day. It's just like a timer basically running in the background, but it's just really nice to go back to. I think it's called, what was it called? Stop Drinking.
Oh goodness, you've put me on the spot.
I know, I'm sorry, because I haven't got it anymore. Well, there's another one as well that NHS are doing, which is helps you set smaller goals, which is good. And that just like you commit to how many days each week you're not going to have a drink.
Yeah.
And you can do 7 or you can do 5. So there's a lot of apps out there, but I think it's down to you, like which one you choose. I think non-alcoholic drinks like really helped me at first, especially the beers. Just having a pack of non-alcoholic beers in the fridge made me feel like I could still just like have a drink at the end of the day. And I really enjoyed that. And then, going back to your why and your reason, and like making sure you've kind of got that at the forefront of your mind each day, and reminding yourself that you're feeling banging, and you just kind of the only way is kind of up from there, really. So amazing. And my favorite drink, I'm really into this STRYYK gin. Well, I'm not just saying that. And I like the kind of pale ales, like the non-alcoholic beers out there. Camden one, there's loads out there. I can't put my finger on which, but I know I quite like the Peroni Zero. But there's loads of really good non-alcoholic tasty beers out there. So
cool, thanks. And what I should say is I just found it. So the one that you're talking about, it's called I'm Done Drinking. Yeah, which I downloaded, which shows you like 960 days, 67 days. It tells you how many drinks you haven't had, how much money you've saved, and how many calories you saved. And apparently I've saved 241,000 calories, which is ridiculous. So that's one. The other one you can have a look at is Drink Coach, which you can count your units in that, and it can help you to be accountable of how many units per week you're having too. So I've got quite a few friends I've used that.
This is Drink Free Days by the NHS, and you can just like tap the number of days you haven't had a drink for, and it's really good.
Brilliant. So, yeah, great advice. Get yourself an app. Do it. And Nuala, your top 3 tips. And Nuala, that we've been waiting in anticipation. Nuala's got a load of empty bottles there she's going to share with us.
I don't have top 3 tips, but I suppose for me, I had a family scare with my dad with with a diagnosis, and that really was like the catalyst again for me to sort of go right, and just your health. you know, your health is your wealth. That's just number one. And, you know, just at this age, I think things start to go wrong and stuff starts to happen to lots of different people. And I think if you can give yourself a bit of a starting run, then, you know, I think, or, you know, a bit of a start when it comes to that sort of stuff. And, you know, not having to live with a fear, you know, that's such a great thing. Like just having no anxieties and not beating yourself up because you've woken up and you think, you know, the paranoia and the anxiety, do you know what I mean? So for me, that's just, it's a gift. Because, you know, I saw some friends last weekend, the weekend before, and, you know, we had some drinks and like, you know, Sunday was a write-off in the sense of like literally I was like, oh, I've got to go. And I didn't have a nice Sunday with those guys, which I should have done, you know, hanging out with them.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then, you know, just the feeling of kind of achievement and you've done something. What a nice thing to achieve something in a lockdown. And I've tried all the alcohol-free beers that give me a headache. Beer obviously is not my thing. It never really was my thing anyway. I'm much more of a JD and a whiskey woman, but there's no alcohol-free whiskey, I don't think. So this alcohol-free rosé by McGuigan's is delicious. I can't tell you how nice it is and how good it is. It's honestly, it's one of the nicest things because I've tried a couple of things. And then it's €4.90, it's €4. It's their alcohol-free alcohol-free sparkling. It is, honestly, it's so good. And
it tastes like the real thing, or is it different? It is different.
No, it does taste like the real thing. I've had it at a couple of 40th Zooms and a couple of birthdays. So it's been brilliant. I've been like sitting there drinking my bubbles and everyone's like, oh, wicked. I'm like, yeah. And I'm going to wake up tomorrow and go for a huge walk at 7:30. That was in the summertime, lols. But this is really good. And I had this at the start of Christmas. I had a couple of bottles of this at Christmas and it was brilliant because then it meant when I did have a glass of wine with my dad, when we had our food, it was perfect. It was like, oh yeah, great. I enjoyed the food. We had chats. It was great, you know. So that to me is my tips.
Oh, that's amazing. Thanks so much. There's some absolutely corker pieces of advice there from all of you. And we've learned a little bit about you by what you drink as well. So thanks for that, guys. Yeah, there were some questions that came through. We've answered a couple of all of them already, but there's just another one here which said, I found it harder during lockdown to monitor or reduce my alcohol intake. All the days are the same and I'm at home all the time. How do you put a full stop on the working week? Well, I'm just going to chuck in a couple of things. I think we've mentioned some of these already, that there's loads of alcohol-free alternatives. You know, it's not just about Beck's Blue or it's not just about drinking water. There's so much out there. Explore it, try it. You know, you'd be really, really surprised by what you might find. To also, one thing I heard about was practicing 3 and 3, where you might decide you're going to drink 3 days a week, and each time you drink, you'll just have 3 drinks. So I think some people find that useful. Also, starting your evening with an alcohol-free drink as your first drink, and then alternating, maybe have an alcoholic one and then back to alcohol-free. The other thing I'll say is very often the first drink of the night is the one which is the big decider. And if you start your night with an alcohol-free drink, like an alcohol-free beer, whatever it might be, and you get to the end of that and you're like, actually, I might just have another one, then, you know, you may very well find that you have that evening without booze. So that's what I'd say. I don't know if anyone else has any other points or comments on that.
I'd say just maybe look at starting a new habit entirely. So don't look at replacing it. Like I used to smoke heavily, and a lot of people go on to the e-cigarettes, don't they? Whereas I was like, no, if I'm stopping smoking, then I'm stopping altogether. So I'd say potentially look at just a different habit that marks the end of the week. So whether it's going for a walk, or whether it's that you have a phone call with the best mate at the end of the week, or that you go and have a bath, or that you eat something that's a treat. Like just find something else, because once you've done that a number of times, you'll have replaced the habit of having to have the drink. The drink doesn't mark the end of the week. It's generally what you're doing when you have the drink, which could be that you're sitting and chatting to friends, or that you sit down and watch a bit of TV while you're having the drink. So just find the other thing that makes you feel good instead.
Yeah, I mean, I that's really great, but I struggled with that living on my own. And, you know, so I was able to go, you know, I bought the alcohol-free rosé, or I got the, you know, so I'd have my pizza. I always have pizza on a Friday evening and treat myself. And that's how I would, the end of the week with, you know, like the beers or whatever. But yeah, I think it's tough when you live on your own as well, and you don't have like people around you as much as possible, as like, you know, you might normally do. So
yeah,
I think,
because I live on my own as well, but maybe it's because I didn't used to have baths before, so the bath became a treat. I mean, I did shower, I did clean. I'll stop there.
I love that. Never had a bath before. Insights.
Oh, that's brilliant. Thanks. Well, I don't. If anyone has any more questions, feel free to pop in. I don't think there were any more questions. Well, maybe. Yeah, or if anyone has anything they want to say, but no, I just want to say this. It's been so interesting, and it's so great to have everybody's perspective. And it's just really good to, just some of us have taken time off and aren't drinking still, and some of us are, and it's just really good to get different perspectives on it all. And I think there's a lot of common what I keep coming back to is just the positivity of it and how great it can be, and for the small handful of negatives, there's so many more positives. And new habit, just give yourself a bit of time out, reset, and I always say, what's the worst that can happen? Because there's nothing bad that can happen. And I think Sally was gonna I'm gonna steal her thunder. There's something all about not regretting. You're never gonna regret not having enough drinks. But anyway, I've put it really badly, so we'll come back to this. Apologies, I've just completely messed that up. But anyway, so I think I was just kind of trying to ad lib there and see if any more questions came in, but I don't think they're going to, so I think we will wrap up. And how I wanted to maybe finish this is just by asking any of the women on this call that want to, whether you have like a greatest moment of being alcohol free, and whether that's something that you read or something that you heard or something that you felt along the way that just kind of put it all into place and was like, yeah, this is the right thing for me. What I'm doing here is amazing. And I'll open that up to any of you that want to jump in there.
Just to say, on Sunday, yesterday I listened to an interview with a woman called Sophie White, who is a full-blown alcoholic, young woman, still only 30 with 3 children. And she's written a book, and she had an extract called Drunk Mother in the Irish Independent. And her interview really made me take stock and think to myself, gosh, I am so lucky I am not addicted to alcohol. And it was truly an incredible interview with this woman called Sophie White. Her book is just out. And I dropped her an email immediately and I said, thank you so much. And she wrote back to me saying, gosh, that is really, really kind. So it just made me realize how bloody lucky I am as a person.
Yeah. Thanks, Nuala. That's amazing.
My life has just completely changed giving up alcohol, and I just don't see the point in it anymore. I frequently have dreams that I've got drunk and I wake up in sweats like, oh my gosh, I drank, and I'm like, oh no, it was a dream, thank goodness. My life has just completely changed, and it's all because I chose to stop drinking alcohol. And I don't want to look back at those bad times, even though I do sometimes, but I don't want to, because looking forwards, life just is so much better without it. And I'm so grateful for all of the things that I've been able to achieve. I ran a half marathon on Christmas Day, right, wow. Yeah, perhaps. I mean, if you saw me before me running, no, like the things I can achieve because I've stopped drinking. Yeah, I'm so proud of myself.
Yeah, amazing. So proud of you as well. It's absolutely incredible. Thanks, Rachel. That's great. Yeah, I don't know if either Sally or Sarah have anything to add.
Sally's got to say her.
I think maybe I can try and cover what you were trying to get.
I'm so sorry. I messed it up really badly. So we'll edit that out.
Not at all. So I think now I'll do the same. I think it was the thought around you never regret the drink that you didn't have.
That's
so
it.
you never wake up in the morning and think, I wish I'd had that drink. That is what really resonates with me. I remember having a Zoom with a group of friends and feeling a little bit sad that I wasn't having a drink, and thinking, would it really hurt if I just had 1 or 2 drinks? And I didn't. And I woke up the next day, and the sense of relief, I didn't wake up thinking, oh my God, last night would have been so much better if I'd had those 2 drinks. I woke up and thought, what a brilliant night I had, and I've got no hangover, win-win. So yeah, you never regret it. You never regret not having the drink.
Amazing. Okay. All right. Sarah, I don't know if you've anything to add. You've said a lot of great things already anyway, so.
I think everyone's just echoed what I was thinking. Just like, I think it just shows you what your full potential can be. And that sometimes we're not necessarily giving ourselves the best run at our full potential. And yeah, I think giving yourself an opportunity to just learn a little bit more about yourself is a great thing. And I recommend it. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Incredible. Thanks so
Hear, hear.
much. Thank you so much. And the only thing I would add there, and it's something that I just keep coming back to, and it was something I either read or heard on a podcast, where somebody said really simply, I didn't realize how bad I felt until I started to feel good. And I heard that and I was like, oh my God, that is me. That's completely what happened. I felt bad for such a long time, but it was a load of small things that, you know, anxiety, not sleeping very well, feeling nervous, not feeling confident. But it kind of crept up on me over years. I just felt like that was normal. That was normal. And then when I took a break and I started to feel like me again and get that kind of joy from simple things like you do when you're a child, and, you know, just that anxiety that I didn't even know that I had was lifted off me, and just, you know, still getting stressed about stuff, of course, but just coping with it all so much better and just feeling good. And it, you know, for me, it took me to take that break from alcohol to realize that how bad I felt before, because the feeling of being good when you go alcohol free is like, it's priceless. And, you know, I couldn't recommend it enough to anybody out there who's maybe thinking about taking a break, because I know all the ladies are nodding their heads as well. I think we all agree on that. So with that, thanks so much to everybody for joining us. And if you want to get in touch, you know, feel free to get in touch with me. I'm always available. And if you've got any other questions, or, you know, you want to get in touch with any of the others, just let us know. And yeah, if you're thinking about doing it, just go for it. What's the worst that can happen? Nothing to lose, everything to gain. And happy International Women's Day again. And thank you to STRYYK for providing us with our lovely bottle each. We've already enjoyed that. And yeah, you can find them online. And yeah, take care. Have a good rest of the week. And yeah, hopefully we'll see you all at some point in the real world again soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye.
Lynne.
Bye,
Bye, everyone.
Bye.